Hey guys, welcome back to Mullen Love, a Wargaming. This is War in the Pacific Admirals Edition, play-by-email campaign playing as Japan. We're reviewing the setup for the January 4th, 1942 turn. Where we left off, we were kind of hoping for a big day over Singapore and didn't really get it. Wasn't a disaster either. That said, the good news over Singapore is that it still appears that enemy fighter forces are basically beaten down and eliminated. And you can see part of the reason why the enemy forces seem to be pretty much eliminated right here, and that's H-81 losses are over 80, and the total aircraft that they have available isn't much more than that. So unless they're going to convert the AVG to, say, P-40Es, and honestly, they might not have that many of those available either. They're just running out of aircraft right now. This isn't the time of the war where the Allied war machine has really come to life. So the sacrifice of basically the AVG over Singapore may come back to bite the Allies in the ass. They lost a substantial amount of air power there, and they were throwing quite a bit of air power into the Luzon campaign as well. We saw reinforcements in the form of P-39s and P-38s flying over Luzon, so enemy losses there are pretty heavy too. So yeah, I think they're running out of planes to spare. Taking a quick look at China, it's actually pretty quiet. We're really just advancing for the moment. We should be in to deal with this stack relatively soon. Let's see how fast these guys are moving. Yeah, just 4 more miles to go before we've intercepted that stack. And other than that, we're really just taking care of units out in the open for now. I mentioned we had an issue at Port Arthur during the post-turn analysis, so resource storage is basically down to nothing. I thought about maybe using these convoys for something else, or just not caring basically and letting the resource levels drop to nothing, and I don't think either of those is the right move. We need resource production in the Asian mainland to support the war effort in China. So I don't really want to be preventing supply from being produced locally here. I thought about maybe moving some of this oil out since there's so much oil here. The problem with that is the oil storage at this base is actually decreasing. So they're going to run out in about 200 days. So there's no need to move that over to Japan. Japan's already refining at capacity, so it's not like we're going to accelerate fuel production by moving oil to Japan right now. Now, there is plenty of extra fuel here, so what I did decide to do is do a single run. I put a lot of my large tankers together in a task force, sent some destroyers that didn't have any other tasking at the moment to give them an escort, even though it's unlikely they're going to encounter any subs. These are very, very high-value targets, and they get escorts wherever they go. But they're going to do a single run out of Port Arthur, so we'll knock about 100,000 off that fuel supply and bring that into the Japanese mainland. But basically what this means is we have more convoys than we need operating out of Port Arthur. I think there's at least 3 resource convoys. We're probably going to go down to 1 for a while and just maybe rest those ships, give them some maintenance if they need any, and really just not worry about it. There just isn't that much for them to do right now, since we're only beginning to seize resource productive areas outside of mainland Asia. I've reconfigured my recon setup around here. Instead of relying on Bab's recon aircraft to do maritime surveillance, I'm letting the Bettys handle that. there's enough Bettys here that having some assigned to naval search doesn't really reduce their combat effectiveness. They also have longer range anyways, and we even have so many to spare that we've got morning and afternoon sweeps taking place, reconnaissance sweeps, not fighter sweeps, taking place over the area. So this is an upgrade. Meanwhile, the BAB's recon squadrons I've split up, and I'm mostly allowing them to do searches at their own discretion. So they'll be checking in on these bases pretty randomly. And of course, we've specifically ordered one of those groups to target this one. While that's happening, the tanks are just going to stay put. No need to reveal their presence here until we know what we're doing about this guy, and to know what we're going to do about him, we need to know who he is. So that's all that is going to happen there. For Singapore, I've moved an additional unit of Bettys into Kuching, so we now have 1 Zero Squadron and 1 Betty Squadron that was originally part of the Luzon campaign that's now temporarily joining the Malaya campaign. And what this is going to allow us to do is, between the Nels at Patani and the I guess Nels that were already here as part of the Malaya campaign, we have aircraft ready to attack any ships that try to run out of Singapore, whether they go west through the Strait of Malacca or south towards the Java Sea. We got them either way. In addition to that, the extra squadron doesn't even have naval strike orders. They're going to Singapore no matter what, unless they just don't do what I order them to do, which is entirely possible. I've split the Army bombers between attacking the port at Singapore and attacking the airbase. It's basically just trying to capitalize on the lack of enemy fighter presence. If we can beat up the airbase a little bit, then it's going to be that much less likely that we're going to run into enemy reinforcements coming in. It's also going to drain their supply, which is going to be important as our Army units work their way down. I've also ordered a lot of these submarines that are reporting back to their patrol areas after refueling and rearming to just kind of surround Singapore. So again, if somebody wants to try to escape because they kind of see the writing on the wall, hopefully they're going to be running into submarines for their trouble. It's a little bit dangerous. It's shallow water. It's being patrolled by search aircraft. But these are high-value targets in Singapore, and I would rather not let them get away, especially if they're already damaged and their combat capability is compromised. Would very much like to put some torpedoes into them and finish them off. It was quiet in the Java Sea this turn. Apparently no one left at Talatjap to give us any trouble. So all these with high recon values, we can be relatively sure don't have any enemy ships hiding. So I think Lomblin's the next one in line that I'm giving a search. I have an amphibious group getting ready to pick up the Mirua detachment. And given that Kendari looks like it's basically undefended, I think that's where they're going to end up going. This here is the air division being transferred to Ambon, so they have, let's see, 18 hexes to go, and they're making 8 a day. So that's going to be 3 more days, unfortunately, to get them there. Wish I put them on somebody faster, I guess. Not that these are that slow of ships. Actually, just 6 a day. Yeah, so that's 3 days anyways. I've ordered an attack at Port Morseby. Hopefully that falls relatively quickly. Continuing to move forces into the Rabaul area. I've also ordered additional aviation support units to depart Japan for this theater of operations. That might take close to a week. We've delivered additional air support to Tarawa, so I could start operating aircraft out of there eventually. Of course, it would help if we had an air base there, but the aviation support unit includes engineers that can build airfields. So that's good. And hopefully as some of the progress in other theaters where we have our airfield construction battalions, as they start completing their work, places like this where we want to build up to start getting our defense in depth, will free up those units so that they can do those taskings. And then for Pago Pago, what I decided to do with these contacts is, so this is just a little rowboat. It's one of the extended range variants, so it's better than most of the ROs, but it's still just an RO. So this is the guy that I'm going to risk. So he's going to go into the harbor and try to torpedo the task force that's probably unloading troops there. And, you know, maybe we get something. This submarine is the one with the float plane. It's the one that made contact. I'm going to keep him to the west, and I've ordered the search plane, instead of to search at random, it's going to continue to overfly Pago Pago with an eastern search arc. So hopefully the spotting information from that aircraft will help guide the RO. And then this is the submarine that's paired with the float plane carrier, and it's going to go into kind of a goalkeeping position northeast of Pago Pago. So if these guys finish unloading and depart, we hopefully have another shot at getting them. Is that everything? I think it is. Alright, so I will close this out. We'll see you for the combat replay. Thanks for watching. Combat replay for January 4th, 1942 now underway. Once again, looking for a big win over Singapore. Maybe we'll get it this time. Hey, we're finally attacking some of these subs off the coast. Well, not quite attacking them. Trying to attack them. Alright, come on, guys. Damn it. And that was a sub attack, too. It's them attacking us. Much higher hit probability if they're the ones shooting at us instead of just shooting reflexively when we're attacking. Alright, suffered a night attack. No damage. Clear skies, at least over Kuantan. Hopefully it'll also be clear over Singapore. Alright, let's get... Oh, wow, they didn't even try. And that was supposedly an ASW attack. Maybe this time. Here we go, here we go. Let's get them. Oh well, at least we tried. Probably gonna lose a ship. Looks like 2 additional ASW ships have arrived outside Tokyo to participate in the ASW operations there. bet he's tried to attack a ship flying out of Bangkok, but didn't find the target, it looks like. Looks like missions out of Kuantan were scrubbed due to weather. Alright, it's not bad, bombing from 20,000 feet. Nice. 56 vehicles disabled. Let's see them try to attack this turn. So the Chinese are trying to attack us at sea now. Well, guess they might as well use those bombers while they can, because they're not going to have Wen Chao for much longer. Here we go. Get 'em, Oscars. Nope. Yeah, hard to bring these guys down, but they did no damage. Well, so we've gone the whole AM phase without any operations against Singapore. Okay, here we go. Pretty small strike. At least we have sufficient escorts. Should be able to handle these guys. Of course, we've seen instances where they just completely just walk right past our escorts and get to the bombers anyways. Really struggling to get kills this engagement. Doing a lot of damage, but not actually shooting down any planes. Yeah, there they do. Got to the bombers again, in spite of the escorts. Basically accomplished nothing with that. Alright. Got a few more planes here. Again, very small compared to our overall forces assigned. So hopefully we have more on the way. And I am pleased that the assigned squadron, well, maybe not the assigned squadron, but a squadron flew with them. Since these are the 1A alphas, we're going to struggle to get kills even more than the zeros and the 1 Charlies did. So far, it's only the Oscars that are getting shot down. I think one unfortunate side effect of the air campaign lasting as long as it has is that the enemy pilots that are still here are pretty good. Yeah, so they actually managed to just convince our bombers to turn around. Oh jeez, and this group arrives unescorted. At least they mostly guessed through. There we go, hit on the Prince of Wales and the Repulse. All armor hits indicated so far, so we haven't really done any real damage. So that was nowhere near my total force flying. Nels in particular, Nels and Betty's did not fly their full set of missions. These guys made the trip pretty quick. Shame I can't get these guys to surrender. Oof, 20 squads disabled. I don't like that. $37-1 odds. 58 combat squads destroyed. These guys don't have much fight left in them. I'm really surprised they didn't surrender right there. Ha, they're attacking. This should be funny. They've got no attack value. One to 17. Well, they still did a decent amount of casualties. Although they lost 10 more vehicles, so it's mostly vehicles that they're attacking with. Tank battalion, artillery regiment. I don't know what a GMC group is, but apparently it's mostly vehicles. So yeah, that's 1 to 17 odds. They really did not do much. Allied adjusted assault was just 1. Allied shock attack. We've got 3 core. Let's see how this goes. Allied assault odds 1 to 99. What happened? High disruption. Okay, so that's from the river crossing. Low supply. Why would they have low supply? They're crossing from a base that produces supply. Well, the enemy's been pretty devastated. That is going to knock out a significant amount of their combat power. Enough that I almost think I want to counterattack. Although probably not. I mean, I've got all these malices, fatigue, morale, and experience. So that's not telling me that I should attack. We'll see what reinforcements that I've sent here that have arrived. If I've got the, my actual forward fighting divisions, then I should probably attack. Alright, here's Port Morseby. And we get it.
Hello, my misguided friends. This is your #1 enemy, Orphan Anne, from Radio Tokyo, with another blow to your morale and some music to console you. Today, the Imperial government announced that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Port Morseby.
So here's some unexpected good news. You can probably double this. So we probably destroyed something like 14 B-17s here. That's very, very good news. Probably getting tired of me saying it, but I hate B-17s. We just really don't have a good answer for them, except apparently destroying them on the ground. That is a very good answer for them, considering we have so much trouble shooting them down. So we've got one surrendered unit out of this. 3 more escape into the jungles, which is fine for me. If they want to go to Buna, that's fine. They can hang out there. I can kill them later. Don't really care. Of course, with Rabaul and Port Morseby both falling so close together, and with me about to start sending units into the Solomons, the urgency to get airfield engineers and aviation support units is all that greater right now. Alright, let's review the turn. Once again, we did not get the big day over Singapore that we were hoping for, but maybe today's kind of a, I didn't get what I want, but I got what I needed sort of day. Point gain was fairly modest, but not bad by any means. The gains are mostly from base points. Port Morseby in particular, I'm sure, had some value, and we gained a bunch of smaller bases along the way. And then while doing that, we gained some army points too, so that the breakdown's about 300 points from bases and the other 50 or so points from army losses. In the air, this was kind of a bad day for us, and the only thing that saved it and made the numbers kind of look even was the enemy's loss of B-17s at Port Morseby. We shot down 1 Buffalo, and that was pretty much all we were able to produce in the air, despite assigning a bulk of escorted bombers to Singapore today. I think we had 1 Nell squadron and 2 Sally squadrons fly. That's out of 3 Nell squadrons, and I think 3 Sally and 1 Lily squadron. So we had at least 4 bomber squadrons sitting on their ass, all of whom had fighters assigned to them for escorts, who were mostly also sitting on their asses. I wish I knew how to deal with this, but I really don't. Right now, my best idea is just to build up another airbase to try to relieve some overcrowding. But I mean, every time this sort of thing happens, I'm making some kind of adjustment, and it doesn't seem to ever lead to a cohesive result. I mean, I've even looked at the Air HQ and made sure that the commander that's in charge is, has the appropriate skills to try to make this work, and he's one of the best available. Anyways, enough griping about that. You can see on the enemy side, they had 15 operational losses today, and 10 of those were the B-17s that were eliminated on the ground in Port Morseby. Other than that, 2 operational losses for their AVG P-40s, 2 total Buffaloes, one of them being an outright shoot down, and the rest of these don't really register as significant. There were no ships sunk today, and then just looking at the charts, we can see we're narrowing up in victory points. Not a whole lot of naval losses in the most recent turns, and air losses overall relatively low, as we're just not really having any major battles between, planes not flying in Malaya and the Luzon air campaign essentially being over at this point. Alright, heading back to the map, holding contact on still 5 submarines outside Tokyo. We presently have 6 anti-submarine ships. I believe all 6 of these have the better depth charges. This group all does, as does this group. So not bad. And then, the sub-chasers will be back, but they're not going to do much besides hopefully enhance our detection level. I may be willing to give my training squadrons another look over to see if we can maybe increase the average skill level of the pilots assigned to our ASW bombers. I don't think we're going to be able to get that much higher than it is right now, at least not for a few more weeks of training. I basically pulled the best that we had available, so to get somebody better, it's going to have to be somebody that was below the current skill level, and their training is going to have to surpass the ones that used to be the best. Got a whole bunch of fights just about ready to break out over here east of Canton and in Wenchao. Looks like the enemy presence in Wuchang has stayed about the same. They may be concentrating a little bit over here. We had a victory in this hex that pushed the enemy over to here. These guys are basically broken, so I think maybe instead of going after them again, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, there's still 7,000 troops there. But maybe instead of going after them, I should work on maybe engaging this group. I should probably get some recon on that guy. Do we have someone more intact than this one? Yeah. So, we'll get a better force estimate on that enemy unit, and that's going to help determine where this group of forces should go. So I don't really have enough in Q King to go on offense. They have to stay there and defend the base. Here's some good news. We finally got our troops in to fight the stack over here. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. So that should be a major battle. And that's going to call for a whole lot of air support. Been kind of pointlessly bombing a lot of enemies that are in defensible hexes. This as a wooded hex is also fairly defensible, but I'm hoping that by concentrating my bombers a little bit we'll get a better result. I have managed to get my garrison back in place. It's a bit of overkill, but it's temporary. Eventually I should be able to get a weaker unit in there to free that up. Preferably not a tank unit. But heck, I mean, even like this Naval Guard unit is a possibility. I'm sure I could find somebody out here, like, one of these root brigades. It's not like this hex is even a base. So once we deal with these guys, I can just assign one of them to take over here. And yeah, it would be funny if one of them was already allocated, but no. Anyways, so we've also reached this probably broken enemy unit on the road to Cyan. So there's that. I thought my tanks would have arrived by now. Where are my tanks? Did I ask them to go somewhere else? Yes, okay. 2 tank regiments arrived here at Tatung. For now, I'm going to have them join this group, and we'll have them clear out the enemy troops on this road, and if these guys ever decide to finish their trip through the mountains, they'll be my next target. So it's decision time with this unit. Do we keep moving along the fast road, or do we go off-roading into the desert? That's more of a setup question, so we'll just leave it as it's decision time for now. We have recon on this unit, and it's pathetic. 940 troops, no guns, no vehicles, so this is the lightest of light infantry. I'm just not even sure I should react to him. Honestly, if I go ahead and send in the tanks in behind him and wipe him out, it's not going to gain me anything, and it just reveals to the enemy that I'm, using this tank force to do that. So yeah, let's not do that. We'll just leave them there. Still have a sub hanging out off Singora. Got sub chasers on the way to deal with him. And I believe the destroyer that was initially there should be headed back. Yes. So we'll have a pair of sub chasers and a pair of destroyers trying to get rid of that Dutch sub. This unit between Patani and Alor Star is pretty much done for. Fatigue's building up, so I'm not sure I want to attack yet again. But I mean, this unit's so weak, he shouldn't be able to hurt me. Fighter numbers at Singapore are coming up. So I don't know if that's reinforcements or maybe aircraft that were disabled are coming back online. So something I'm going to have to consider for next turn is whether it's worth deactivating the bombers for another turn and just focusing on sweeps for a little bit. I hate doing it, but if we can't get our bombers through without taking heavy losses, in this turn we lost, what was it, 5. 5 bombers plus 3 fighters, with only 1 enemy fighter shot down to show for it. And the damage we did to the ships on the ground was pretty insignificant, because we only hit them. We hit heavily armored ships with 250 kilogram bombs, which isn't good enough. To do damage, we need to do it with Nels and Bettys carrying 800 kilogram armor-piercing bombs. We're just really not doing anything. So, yeah. And if they're not going to fly their missions, there's really not a whole lot we can do. Just out of curiosity, is it the one unit that I assigned to a port strike and nothing else that flew? We'll be able to tell because they'll have losses. They do have an operational loss, an air-to-air loss. Okay, so maybe this is a hint. Maybe this is a hint. If I want the bombers to actually go to Singapore, maybe I need to assign that as their primary mission and not have them on naval strike as primary and port strike as secondary. I do have the options to divide many of these squadrons. So, for example, the Nell unit on naval strike is the Genzan one, and I can divide it. So maybe what I do is leave 1/3 of the unit on naval strike and 2/3 on port strike, so that way I still have some capacity to put some torpedoes into enemy ships if we spot them, or, you know, if these ships try to leave. It's such a mess. And then we tried to attack, presumably this task force, and they somehow managed to get lost. I mean, how you fail to locate a task force that's right outside a major city in the river delta should be easy to find, right? So, a whole lot of craziness and garbage going on this turn. So, everything's going smoothly in Mindanao. We're starting to close in on Butuan and Davao. We captured another base. Actually, I didn't even see this one in the captured list this turn. But we've got it. So not much left here in southern Luzon. I was a little worried about force levels here. The enemy doesn't seem to be reacting yet, and our second unit is nearly there, so that shouldn't be too bad. And heck, I've even got these guys that might be able to help if I really need them. Let's check this for a garrison real quick. There's no garrison requirement. So this was probably my favorite event of the turn. So these 3 units, mostly enemy vehicles, have traveled to Cabanatuan, came out into the open with no cover in the form of advantageous terrain, and just got bombed straight into the Stone Age by my sallies, and became combat ineffective because of the losses they took. And in spite of attacking a relatively weak unit of mine, they just, they were worthless. And yeah, that was just funny. I'm amused. And there may be even more enemy forces still coming. So I'm probably just going to let them come. If they want to keep moving, I'll let them. And in the meantime, I have a hard time believing that it's really just 1 point of airfield damage when we had something like 15 hits this turn. But yeah, I don't want to attack because I want to let the enemy leave if that's what they want to do. So this is going to be pretty funny. Enemy ship stuck here. We have an aircraft carrier that's a pair of aircraft carriers that are more or less covering their escape route. And of course our infantry is going to be attacking this turn. So these ships either need to leave or they're going to be destroyed in port by my advancing infantry. And of course, if they leave, they're already damaged. If they were seaworthy, they would have left already. So these guys are just going to get blown away as soon as they go to sea. At least that's my hope. I hope for a lot of things in this game and don't get my way. So somebody's being delivered here. So we have a decent number of base forces and engineers here. The airbase is almost completely repaired. We don't have as much aviation support as we need, but the arrival of the air HQ is going to take care of that. got sub-chasers up ahead trying to make sure that it's clear for the arrival of the air HQ. It's a very, very high-value unit. They've even got a covering force. So everything's looking good there. Still have 3 subs off the coast of Mindanao, 4 subs off the coast of Babel Doab, and we really don't have anybody worthy going after these guys. Just not on the cards. Carrier Division 2 has arrived at Babel Doab. Be looking to resupply them as much as I possibly can. Anything else noteworthy here? Yes, this task force here has not finished unloading. When they finish unloading, they're going to be responsible for taking these clods to Ambon, where they can hopefully be of some use, and hopefully as Ambon grows, we'll be able to upgrade them to zeros. If not, as I mentioned before, the Tayo is still doing its thing where it's taking Claude units to Japan for upgrades. Truck looks okay. We have some ships available for amphibious ferry duty. Port Morseby is in terrible condition. Runway damage 75, port damage 82. We trashed this place badly. And we've got a ship damaged pretty badly in the process. Actually, I think the best thing to do with that particular ship is just to leave it in port for a while, as the flotation damage is only going to get worse if we try to let it go anywhere. Flotation damage tends to get worse fast when system damage is over 50, so we don't want them getting back out. The enemy's reacting to the presence of Carrier Division 1 here. Yeah, we've been spotted. We've pretty much been in the same spot for the last couple days, and what do you know? We've got 2 submarines coming to strike me down. So it's going to be time to move. And we really need to start bringing these bases to life, if no other reason, to get some anti-submarine coverage up here. Don't have any aviation support yet in Rabaul. We really don't have anything in Rabaul yet besides soldiers. That is about to change. Anti-aircraft and aviation support about to arrive this turn, along with a decent amount of supplies and a little bit of fuel. So that'll put Rabaul in a pretty good place. Good enough to possibly station some aircraft here. Yeah, I'd really like to put maybe a large unit of Jakes there. Would be kind of nice. Don't think I have any just yet. But I do have some seaplane tenders that can work their way down here. So that might provide some of the short-range recon that we need, along with anti-submarine capability. Another possibility is I could relocate these Mavises to Rabaul, where they might do more good. Especially since we have Bettys here that can take over some of this maritime surveillance activity. Pretty quiet in the Marshalls. Those damaged destroyers have disappeared. We haven't seen them for like 3 days. And we have not detected anything at Pago Pago anymore, so those ships may have finished unloading and gotten away. no activity at Pearl, and we have a lot of submarines here getting detected this turn. Yes, that's not good. West Coast looks quiet. Don't know who these guys are. Guess it doesn't really matter much. We're not going into that hex to attack them. It's too risky. Did get some additional forces. Kwajalein base force and Watchi base force. That's going to be worth looking into. Kwajalein is one of my main bases in the Marshalls, so that's here. So this is the unit that just arrived. We get a little bit of aviation support, some naval support, which is good. Mostly this is defensive. We're getting artillery, anti-aircraft guns. So that's a nice little addition here. Between these two, Kwaj is the one with the bigger port, so the naval support is actually what's really helpful here. Aviation support we don't really care about too much here because Roy Namor is the main air base in the Marshalls. What was the other one? We received Watchi. I think that's around here. Yep, right in my face, and I didn't see it. So we got the base force this turn. So it looks about the same. Looks the same as the Kwaj. Did we get engineers with it? We sure did. We have a little bit of supplies. We're building fortifications. Alright, so that should accelerate the growth of the fortifications here. The more fortified these islands are, the harder it's going to be for the Allies to take them back late in the war. And Takao got a new unit. So that would have been the special base force. It arrived planning for Manila. I take that as a hint for where this unit should be deployed. Lots of support. Plus naval support, small amount of aviation support. So Manila doesn't seem unreasonable, but may not be the best. Naval support, I want to prioritize bases that I'm going to use as ports. So we'll see. I might already have base forces planning for areas such as Brunei and Miri, Balikpapan. Those bases come to mind, since those are oil and fuel producing hexes that I'm going to want to start shipping fuel out of soon. Especially once Balikpapan falls, that'll make these areas safer, along with Tarakan. The reason I'm not operating tankers out of here yet is they could put like light bombers here and just start low-level attacking my tankers, and it's just not worth it. It's a good way to lose high-value ships, in my opinion. But, I mean, absolutely, like, someplace like Palembang is going to need a high level of naval support. Now, that may end up being a naval headquarters, so I'll get naval support that way. But that's my thinking. So, I believe that just about does it. Yep, I've been everywhere on the map, I think, so we'll close it out, and we'll see you, as always, for the January 5th turn. Thanks for watching.